All right, all meet order, we stand and do pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to do roll call. Townsend's here. Locke here. Williams not here. Malco.
Yes.
Bat is absent. All right, we are moving on to approving the agenda. The agenda's there, so we're just looking for the approval of presented agenda.
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
I might make a motion for a second. Motion.
Second?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion has been approved. Moving on to public comment. Tilly. Over. Do you want to head today?
Yep.
Ms. Leslie? Yes. You are welcome to start your comment.
Okay. I sent you, several of you, an email to address this and haven't gotten a response, so that's why I came tonight about different complaints I have with Angel Morris, the transportation director. I asked her, we already have a past where she's been mean to me, called me names and done things to me. But in this, one of the biggest complaints I have is that I kept asking her for my yellow card and she wouldn't give me my yellow card. It's illegal for me to drive my school bus without a yellow card. They have to be on me. I had to drive my bus for 8 days illegally, okay? And then, so then I think, you know what, I'm just gonna text her. So I text her, she still won't respond because that's what she does. So then I email Mr. Stover.
We need to not make this personal with names.
Oh, okay, so you're not supposed to say who?
No, you can't speak of.
And other employees.
Names, no.
Oh, so don't say names.
No, cannot say
Okay, then
names.
you ask that later or something? I mean, to resolve something, how would you know who did something?
Well, it's not gonna get resolved tonight. We're
Oh.
giving you time to
Oh, just don't say.
make
names
some
on here?
comments, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so then I email her boss, and he sent me a threatening email back about they're not telling anybody and all this stuff. Well, you know, it's illegal, and I wanted my yellow card, and so then I did end up getting it, but I'd already driven 8 days with no yellow card, and she was mean to me and wouldn't let me have it. It's illegal, okay? That's just bottom line, it shouldn't have been done. And then I have some videos, of some meetings with some of these people that they have called me names. They said everything I'm saying is word vomit and saying mean things to me and talking bad about me and, not treating me right. And you just don't treat people that way. You know what I mean? That's not how you treat somebody. And one of these people, they wrote me up for something and I was sorry I did it. I'm not a perfect person. And I apologized and all this stuff, but nobody else wants to humble themselves and ever say they did anything wrong. They want to sweep it under the rug, If you do something wrong, you're supposed to say you did it wrong and you're supposed to apologize. But nobody else wants to do it. Nobody wants to be held accountable for anything. Somebody should be held accountable for that illegal act because that was illegal. You can't make someone drive a bus for 8 days illegally. I would have gotten all kinds of trouble. The school would have been in a bunch of trouble. And the transportation director is the one that's supposed to make sure I had my card. And I kept asking her, she wouldn't have it. So just bottom line, I've not been treated right. And you just don't treat people that way. They told me, mean what you say what you mean, and all that stuff. And, try to talk real nice to people and all this. Well, you know what? I think my motto is people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones because if you're doing stuff wrong yourself, don't throw stones. Don't do stuff to me if you're not a perfect person yourself. I just don't understand why they can treat me this way. And then there's no one being held accountable for it. I don't think it's fair. And where else am I supposed to go to get any help? To you guys. And I emailed you guys and I haven't gotten a response. So that's why I'm here.
We've responded to your emails, that we've received them.
I just looked.
And, well, you've emailed me several times over the past, so
The
again,
last couple days.
well, I haven't seen
I
those.
looked. Okay.
So, but we've responded to them, that we've received your emails, and we are taking your comments very seriously, and so we appreciate you coming in, but, there's things going on that we don't talk about in front of the group, so.
And,
What, don't you talk about just,
I mean, this is personnel issues.
yeah, so
Right.
one thing we cannot do, Laura, just professionally speaking, is we cannot talk about people by name.
Oh, I didn't know.
That's a level of
I've
professionalism.
never been to school board meeting, sorry.
Yeah, so, and this meeting is a school board meeting. Of course, we're running, we're trying to go through a business agenda. We do appreciate you letting us know. And we want to support you 100%. The board, has told me that they have responded to the emails,
No, please.
not the most
Pertaining to
recent.
that, no, not
Okay.
to those.
And then one thing I do want to clarify is I did talk to Mr. LaRocco from the state of Indiana. I was speaking with Mr. LaRocco on March 30th, so not too long ago. Today is what the day. So I personally reached out to Mr. LaRocco on the yellow cards. When I talked to Mr. LaRocco, every one of our bus drivers in the district were verified with a yellow card on December 19th, 2025. So you guys had your yellow cards. You didn't have them on your physical body, but you had, and I told Mr. LaRocco exactly what took place. He was not concerned about it. I was forthcoming. The issue we had was we were looking to laminate your cards. We weren't withholding the cards. And I will say that Ms. Morris is doing her role. I came in and I was originally the transportation director before we appointed her to be the transportation director. This is a small oversight. It wasn't 8 days, and you were in fact active in the state system on December 19th. So moving forward, we will rectify that issue. We will make sure that you have a yellow card on your person before January 6th. That was an oversight on our part, and we have been forthcoming to the state. So I have talked to Mr.
That's because
LaRocco.
I talked to Mr. Morocco, and that's why he called you. And he also told me that, there was an issue, because it is illegal. I have his email saying it's very illegal for me not to have a yellow card and drive a bus. And he said I should probably reach out to somebody else.
Okay.
All right.
So
Well, thank you for
You're welcome.
your time, and we appreciate your comments.
Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you.
All right, moving on to consent agenda. We've got claims for everyone's review. The minutes from the last meeting. And personnel. So if we're looking for a motion to approve consent agenda items A through C. Sorry.
Motion to approve consent agenda items A through C.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, that has been approved. Okay, we've got month-end reports. Any questions or comments about any of those?
Fall on here too.
You guys did have fun with it?
I was great to see you guys using board docs too. I was like, oh, so we do pop.
It's not the same setup as normal water. Do we have any questions on those?
Do you have any questions? Any other questions, claims?
Claims I did not.
Okay. So I haven't signed these, you look at them.
And then monthly report,
I can't even manipulate that.
I'm good.
the
The
appropriations, on revenues.
Anything there?
We don't need any motion on that. Okay,
It's just like.
On what? On the donations?
no, I was still talking about my thing. Okay.
Okay.
New business, we've got donations. We have the following donations that we're looking for approval to accept. The Williams family donated $300 towards FBLA. There was an anonymous donation of $150 towards FBLA. Crabtree Photography donated the signs for kindergarten and pre-K roundup,
How much was that for?
$225 value. And then Mount Olive Community Church donated $100 towards the Backpack Buddy program. So like I said, we're just looking for a motion to approve those donations.
I make a motion to approve those donations.
Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those donations have been accepted, and we thank everybody for their considerations and their time and energy and money towards our wonderful students. All right, so next item is professional therapy dog policy, our second reading.
And just a reminder, it was more that we didn't have one in place. It's more so that we are making sure that we have a definition of the handler, the medication the dog needs, proper handling of the dog, and making sure it has adequate nutritional diet. So it's laying out all of that just to make sure we're taking care of our women.
We're not doing, are we voting?
Yeah, we'll need to do the second reading, yeah, or a vote on the second reading.
Okay. So we just need motion to approve.
Motion to approve the second reading for the professional therapy dog policy.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion has been approved.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, and I'll give you an introduction, April.
Perfect.
So super excited to have April here. April worked with policy analytics. And in your previous life, you worked in a school setting in central office, correct?
Yes, so I was the CFO for Warsaw Community Schools for 8 years, 11 total in their business department. So I started as deputy treasurer, and then CFO. So really worked my way up. And I think that's the best way because you see how it's made and you learn the process. And so, so then this past June, policy analytics was just, they've been exploding and growing. So they called and said, hey, would you like to help support Northern Indiana? So I started in June and super excited to be here tonight.
Yes,
Thank you.
And I will tell you that policy analytics does a great job. They give us a one pager, they give us projections, they help us with a 10-year analysis. So the stuff you're going to see here, and the reason we partner with people like that is one, you're much smarter than me, so I appreciate it. But mainly like just not having the time, like, you know, as a superintendent or in a small district, we don't have the means to get everything done or project out. It takes a lot of time to do this, and having, you know, policy analytics go through this process is incredible. So April, I do appreciate so much.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So thank you again. I come from, my other team members are former school CFOs. One has DLGF experience. We have a member on our team, she used to work for Ice Miller. She's with us part-time. So we have a great team that has a lot of experience that we can take the time to dive in, like you said. You guys are running 100 different things at different, you know, you're not just running a 4-burner stove, you've got the whole kitchen you're running and the front end. So
And a tunnel running around it.
yeah, exactly. So there's a lot on your plate. So, so what we do at Policy Analytics is we take, property tax analysis to help districts forecast their revenues, and we incorporate legislation changes. So for the presentation tonight, the main focus is a little bit about what SCA 1 is, what the impact is to the district, and then what the revenue forecast looks like, and the property tax rate impact that these changes have. I do not have your cash flow one-pager up here tonight because we're still working on 2026. But I do have some updated numbers that I'll just kind of speak to because you guys are looking really good in your financial stability. Yes, this is going to impact, the SCA 1 changes are going to have an impact and things might have to tighten. But overall, your cash balances are holding steady, and they, you know, they're going to take a little bit of I don't want to say beating through this because it isn't, every district across the state is feeling SCA 1 changes. It's just a little bit different. You guys here do not have a ton of circuit breaker loss, so that is kind of a beneficial factor for you right now. So first page here is our methodology and assumptions. This is a one-pager of the SCA 1 changes. So when somebody goes, what is SCA 1 and what is it doing to us? You're like, well, there's a lot of things that's happening over the next 5 years. So the homestead deduction, those changes, the standard is phasing out, the supplemental deduction is increasing, and our home will only be taxed at about 1/3 of its value by 2031. So instead of a flat, so the flat standard was 48,000. The supplemental is actually going to grow, so homeowners are going to have bigger deductions. And as their net assessed values grow, their deductions are going to grow. So good for homeowners to slow down that net assessed value growth on their homes, but not necessarily for districts who would rely on that net assessed value growth to get additional revenue to help keep up with inflationary costs. So, homestead deductions are changing. The 2% class of the tax caps, they have new deductions that weren't there prior. So apartment complexes, agriculture, and long-term care facilities, they are getting new deductions and they're being phased in. We'll look at that tonight. Then there's switching from deductions to credits. So homeowners are now going to be seeing, and they'll be seeing it here coming when they get their property tax bills, a 10% or $300 max credit. So it's a 10% of their overall liability, but a max of $300. So you've got deductions, credits, then we have a business personal property tax changes. So prior to SCA 1, if a business had personal equipment that was below $80,000, it was tax exempt, not pulled into their net assessed value calculation. The SK 1 change bumped that to $2 million. So everything $2 million and below is now tax exempt of their personal equipment. That's the first piece of the business personal property tax change. And we'll talk about that because that is implemented in 2027. And that will drive down net assessed values in 2027 as well. Then the 30% floor for the business personal property. Prior to SCA 1, you would buy a piece of equipment and it would follow the depreciation scale down to 30% and then stay flatline and tax at that. Now it can follow the depreciation scale close to 0. So any new equipment can follow that scale. So we know businesses are going to get creative and either create their equipment to be new or purchase new equipment. So if they do that, that's something that's not in our forecast because it's so wild, we don't know what they're going to do, but we do know they're reaching out to their legal counsel to say, how do I take advantage of this? So some farmland assessed value changes. They changed the capitalization rate from 8 to 9% and a new base rate, and then some other smaller deduction changes. So that's a lot of SCA 1. What's going to happen to your, let me mention, SCA 1 affects everybody. It affects everybody differently. And just this slide is a great example of how different things can be across the state of Indiana. You can see we have decreases below 2.5% and above 15%. So looking at this, you guys definitely are in the blue, which has increases. But across the state, as some are seeing decreases in net assessed value for 2026, SCA 1 changes are affecting them differently. So just saying, here's what's happening across the state, and it's different everywhere. Here is a breakdown of your district. We have your taxing districts, the certified net assessed value of each of those that make up your total net assessed value, the percentage of the tax base that live in that taxing district, the count of parcels that are in there, and then the median gross assessed values on there. So it's just a nice breakdown to be like, okay, what are we made up of? What do our taxing districts look like? We have your homestead parcels, their assessed values, and again, 15% of your parcels are at the cap. So a very small circuit breaker impact to begin with. So
Is that the reason, is it farm ground is the reason why that's not higher? Because at 15% seems like that's awfully low.
It's your net assessed value is a little bit higher for the median AV on the homestead. So it's a little bit higher median AV, a little lower, little higher AV, a little lower median assessed value on the home. So they're not hitting their caps.
Right. I understand, but that number seems awfully low. Is that figured in with farm ground? Is that the?
Yeah, so that's in that 2% cap right there. So only about 10%.
Has reached the cap.
Yeah, you got residential.
Rentals and farm and then business, Yep. This seems like 15 is awfully low.
It's very low
for an area.
Yeah, and so for example, like when we looked at our circuit breaker last year, we were in the $200 and roughly $260,000 range. That's upticked to about 400. So that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. So let's go to the next slide because I think that's where we start to. Okay, so this is the forecast of those deduction changes. So as you can see, the green line up there is the certified AV or the gross AV that has been climbing, and will continue to climb because they didn't change the assessment system, they just changed the deductions and credits. So gross AV is still projected to climb, but net assessed value has been following kind of parallel, that blue line there. You can see in 27, it's gonna start to dip down because of these deductions. This did not translate well. These deductions are gonna be climbing over the next 5 years at a pretty rapid rate. Then it'll start to level off, and you can see in 2032 where the AV starts to continue back up. So as we talk about net assessed value decreasing, that's when we have to take a look at what's happening to our tax rates to get the levies or revenues that we are currently. So let's go to the next slide. So as we talk about net assessed value decreasing over the next few years, so 2027, as I mentioned, is the year that one, the credits are growing, and two, the business personal property tax changes. So for the district, it's about 23 million that's coming out of the net assessed value calculation in 2027. So we forecasted that, that's about a decrease of 6.2% for the net AV looking at 27. So when we look at trying to get revenues next year, we're going to be seeing a higher tax rate to just get revenues that we have had currently. So if you flip to the next slide, we talked about those deductions. Now we're going to talk about those credits. So the 10% or $300 max credit, I'll just call it the homestead credit for ease. You can see your traditional circuit breaker is in the navy blue. So traditional circuit breaker only impacts your operations fund, and that's what's happening in 2025. The orange is your debt service fund. It has some minor credits, deaf and blind, disabled. Those are hitting in 2025 for the debt fund. But when we look at 2026, and we've modeled it in 26 only because 26 is the only year you can have it impact your debt service fund. So this homestead credit will then in 27 and beyond will only impact your operations fund. So this will be revenue you will not receive. So if we look at this and we'll say, okay, in 2026, the debt service fund, if we choose to, will have about a $74,000 reduction in its revenue. If we look at our operations fund, we'll be looking closer to $290,000 for reduced revenue and operations. So jumping from 227 up to 290, that's where you can see where reduced revenues, what does that look like in cash flows? How can we sustain this? So for the district, we are projecting that the traditional circuit breaker will, it actually decreases a little bit in 26 just due to those deductions being placed in. So if a homestead is right around that 1% cap, if those new deductions come into play, it just pushes them right below. So that's why you see that tiny little dip in 26 for that circuit breaker impact, but then it starts to trend upward because as AVs grow, then more hit that tax cap. So we'll see that circuit breaker grow, but we'll also see that 10% $300 max credit grow because it's a percentage base, and as their AVs grow, their liabilities grow, so does that credit. So that's what we're looking at to say net assessed value is going to be decreasing, and homestead credit is going to be decreasing our revenues overall. And with net assessed value decreasing, our tax rates are going to be increasing because it has an inverse reaction. So let's go to the next slide because we'll kind of tie it all together in a revenue scenario. So we have two of these slides that are very similar. We just have where the impact of the unfunded credits, the homestead credit and traditional circuit breaker loss are impacting, because when we created this report, the legislation hadn't changed to protect the debt service in 27 and beyond. So we were like, we're gonna model both so you can see whatever legislation does that impacts debt or not. This one here, I've highlighted the column 26. So 2026, we have our certified levies for our debt service fund and our operations fund. We then subtract out those unfunded credits, 74,000 to debt, 288 to operations. That's what gets you your net levy. So your net levy is your actual revenue that you're going to receive. So when we're looking at this, yes, debt service did grow a little bit, but operations a $20,000 growth, I call that relatively flat. So as we're looking at this, we're saying, okay, what are the SEA one changes? Our revenues and our operations fund are gonna be relatively flat for 2026. If you'll skip to the next slide, we'll talk about then 27. So if we look at this here, we essentially have, and I'll just kind of step up here. So we brought that impact of the unfunded credits to debt service, or I'm sorry, to operations only. We've grown the operations fund at the 4% because it can follow the MLGQ. So debt service, we've maintained a flat levy there. Operations growing it at 4% like it can, keep up with inflationary costs, but we're growing in that unfunded credits circuit breaker loss. So if you kind of follow this line here, you can see that 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. We're really relatively flat in operations levy growth, and that's really the impact. 29, we'll start to see a little bit of growth, 100 and some thousand in operations, but it's just a slower growth than what we would have seen without the SCA one changes. And as I mentioned that, we then follow what's happening to the tax rate due to the net assessed value. Even though we're getting flat levies for debt service and flat levies for operation until about here we see a little more growth, tax rate is increasing to keep up with that growth. So it's the mechanics of the net, the SCA one changes as the net assessed value is not growing like it would have, just to get these revenues that they're not even what we would have received. We have to increase that tax rate to get those revenues.
And I do have a question.
Yeah.
With the maximum levy growth quotient, is locked for 4% throughout
So
2031?
In our presentation, since it's pre-legislation, they now said you can go up to 6% in that operation levy for 27. And that's only 1 year. The worst part about that is it's the worst year for it to happen because that net assessed value is decreasing. So as net assessed value is decreasing, if your levy is going to go up and you can capture that additional 2%, that tax rate then has to go up. So if we're looking at this for 27, you guys could be sitting at maybe $1.02, maybe $1.25, maybe $1.03, just depending on what that actual net levy and the calculation ends up. So looking at this, a lot of districts have managed their tax rate to say we're staying at 95 cents or 92 cents. We were always 92 cents at Warsaw. And as we've stayed at that flat tax rate, we've still been able to keep up with inflationary revenues. Well, I'm not gonna say exact keeping up, but you've at least been able to get a little more revenue to help combat that. But looking at this, having flat revenues, tax rates are increasing, it makes the calculation, it almost makes the tax rate non-existent because you're now managing to a levy. You're just trying to get the same revenues that you would have pre-SCA one or even a little bit less. So I'll have you go to the next slide. Oh, well, that's it. I'll have you back up just a slide. So we then take this and incorporate it into the cash flows, because this is one portion of it to say, okay, here's what's going to happen to our revenue. What does it look like? Can we sustain this? Are our expenditures going to outpace our revenues? And looking at your cash flows and incorporating these in, it looks like you're going to be able to sustain pretty flat, but it's not that you're not going to have to take a look at priorities and say, okay, maybe we might need to cut back a little bit for the next 3 years until we start to see revenue growth again. When we have those updated, you'll have them, and then Andy can share those with you. The one pager, and we also have a multi-tabbed Excel sheet that goes out, 10 years to help forecast. And we forecast 10 years and it's great. You can see where you're going, but we know legislation changes. We say 2 years, but really they open it up every year and they make adjustments. So this is what we know as of now. And the picture as of now is reduced or flatlined revenues, decreasing net assessed values over the next 5 years, and increasing tax rates over the next 5 years. So kind of the message is, districts are managing to a levy instead of a rate, because the rate it's just a portion of the calculation to get your revenues. So, so really goes to the SCA one, impacts your cash flows again, looking at them just quickly from, we have 25s complete and adding in 26, you know, I've seen a lot worse, and there are a lot of districts that are going to have to, you know, districts have two options. You can make operational cuts or spending cuts and realignments, or you're running a referendum. I don't think you guys are anywhere near there. I even hate saying that word at a public meeting, but we know those are our only options, and, you know, you do everything that you can to, one, maybe not have to go that route, but, you know, making sure that these, I don't want to say hits that are coming are sustainable. So the rough seas, you want to stay going in the right direction, but that's where you guys are at right now. Again, we'll have updated cash flows and just kind of share that with you once we get those put out. But any questions? I know I went really quickly over that.
I think it's very important to say for the people who are watching that this is something that everyone's dealing with. It's not just us, and it's not because of something we did or anything like that. It's just because of the new changes in the legislation.
Yeah, the reality, it's hard when you set a budget. Let's say we're setting a $15 million budget. You have that 15 or maybe a little bit more each year, and then out of nowhere, a legislative change takes place, and then they cut you $200,000 from your budget.
Yeah.
And so now I'm sitting here like, and this is not just me. I mean, in a lot of big districts, especially, we're really close to us, are, you know, in positions where they have to look at riffing people and doing that. And that's the unfortunate thing based on legislative changes. So yeah, for us, we're looking at somewhere between 150 and 200,000 right off the bat for next year, and then it starts to build up from that point. So yeah, so the operational thing, so to be a financial steward of this district, you know, that's why we're having the conversation we are about shifting some things. That's kind of what we're having Miss Christie in here today about some shifts that we're making. So really what from our perspective is, you know, we look at attrition. If we lose somebody, we have to analyze whether we need to fill that position again. But the position we're in is we're being financially solvent, we're being smart with our money. But things change, then we have to be able to figure it out.
Exactly, and you know, you're also managing, you know, these property tax changes. That's not even touching your education fund, your state revenue, your ADM decreasing, increasing. So it's keeping it in view and saying, okay, we can see what's ahead. How can we best prepare, but being able to pivot as needed, like you said, in nutrition, and districts across the state are looking at this. We have partnered with, I think we're over 115 districts across the state right now, and there's about 300 overall. So we're hearing this from everyone that we're talking to, property tax clients, package clients, referendum clients. They are all facing the same battle of reduced revenue and reduced net assessed values, and then switching that tax rate conversation. So, so yeah, it's definitely a statewide issue. It just depends on your makeup of,
We're small and nimble.
right, exactly.
It's information we have to have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
be able to adjust as we need to, and as quickly as we.
Yeah.
Well in advance.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, anything else?
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Outstanding. Appreciate a lot of
Thank
it.
you, thank you. It's my pleasure, this district, you guys are fantastic to work with. I will come down here if you guys need anything else. As legislation changes happen, we will update and, just call or email away.
Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you
so much.
guys.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
All right, next item is that Kelly Christie is gonna update us on the preschool and costs and.
Right.
everything.
Well, I heard you all had some questions, so I guess we'll just start with that. What were your questions? I proposed that, moving from currently right now, when we enroll a student in our preschool program, we kind of, what we do, we build them based on attendance and not enrollment. And that model is sustainable currently, not sure it's sustainable long-term. I don't know if you guys know my background, but I was in preschool and childcare for 25 years. And when I came on board and took over the preschool, I don't want to make big changes quickly. I'd like to make a lot of small changes over a long course of time. The first thing that I noticed, which is great for you all, you are the lowest costing preschool in the county currently. And that, I guess you guys have only charged that for 2 years now, which is with no increase in cost, which is pretty remarkable. Now we're going into the 3rd year. We charge $150 a week for an outsider, and then we give a reduction in cost for our in-house people. That, I would like to see that continue for another year, to make it 3 years of no increase in cost. But to do that, and to do that with some credibility, I know that our costs have increased as well. So to offset that, I am bringing to the board, instead of going to an attendance cost model, we go to an enrollment cost model. And what that looks like is if you enroll in Wes-Del preschool, whether it be the ELA program or the pre-K-5 program, that you are actually paying for your spot. The parents can decide whether they come part-time or full-time or whatever, but we're gonna staff it just like we always have. We staff it for full-time, full capacity. We have a handful of students that right now we're charging a part-time rate. Nowhere else in the county would you get that, a part-time rate. Another thing that we're doing currently also is if a parent gives us a heads up on a vacation, or my student's been sick for 3 days, we're actually prorating that. And I've just kind of continued what we've been doing prior to me arriving. I would like to stop that, because again, nowhere in the county are they gonna give you a break just because your kid was sick for 3 days, or nowhere in the county is gonna give you a break just because you decided to take off 5 to 10 days to go werever, because the school's still staffing. The school is still having all of those people, those aides and that teacher come in. We're still paying, our personal light bill and the heat bill and insurance and all the things that we get to pay. So that's my recommendation is instead of increasing cost for the preschool, we just bring it to an enrollment model instead of an attendance model. And that enrollment model would be that we would charge that $150 a week, whether you're here 1 to 5 days. That's the parent's choice, whatever they decide. We don't give any breaks on that enrollment fee unless you've been gone for 5 days that whole week due to illness or vacation. And then the standard model is that you're still going to charge half that rate because you're still holding that spot for that student. Now, there's a couple different weeks that we need to talk about. That's Christmas break, those 2 weeks at Christmas break, spring break, and fall break. Those are times where the parent couldn't come if they wanted to or not. The school's actually closed. I'm in favor of just not charging for those weeks because they couldn't come. It's not their decision. So actually those weeks we would just pause that, pause the enrollment, or not the enrollment fee, we would pause that fee for that week. I've kind of been through the calendar. The only week that I think that we're gonna have some wishy-washiness is probably Thanksgiving break. And again, the school's open that Monday and Tuesday, but we're off that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The board can kind of decide what you all would like to do with that. We can do one of two things. If a parent decides to come Monday and Tuesday, we can still fall into that policy. If you're here 1 to 5 days, we're still gonna charge you the full rate. Or if that parent decided, nope, I can find grandma's gonna watch that kiddo for those 2 days and they're not here that week, though we were still open, we can still charge that 50% reduction fee to still hold that child's spot. It's whatever you all decide.
With notice.
What's that?
I said with notice, without any
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah,
So it's not like you were expecting everybody to show up and only half of them showed up for those 2 days.
Correct, because
So, yeah.
if we had prior notice, let's say we have 40 kids and we have prior notice that 30 of those students had grandma's to watch, then I don't have to ask. Actually, my aides can have a week off, a full week, because I don't need them.
Yeah.
So that it's just how this is how you do the preschool business. That's what we do. You actually do you guys want to get into money? Okay, so currently, if I took this is just some of the information.
Comparisons.
Yeah, I just did some information gathering, just what's everybody doing right now in our county. If you enroll in kinder care, there is no absence for snow day credits or absence due to sickness. The average, people are charging is between $225 a week. That's actually a little on the low end, to be honest. The average is $181 a week. And again, you can see on the asking snow day credits, nobody gives those except Wes-Del. You know, and I don't think I'm going to speak out of line here, but I really don't think people call and say, hey, do I get a credit? Usually when parents call, they say, when are you open and how much are you? You know, those are the two main things that they want to know. But nobody in our county currently gives any kind of credit for snow days or sick days, other than Wes-Del. Then I took our current enrollments just to see what it would do to this year, you know, and quite honestly, it's only going to affect 12 families if we were to do this.
And what's the total number?
12, we have 22 in one class, and we have 16 in the other class. So if we did this, you'll see the greens. The green people are if we brought this up to an enrollment situation, and that's how much their fee would increase. Okay, and so in one class, we're gonna bring in an extra $228 a week. And in the next class, we're gonna bring in, if we were to do this with this class, we're gonna bring in another $456 a week for a grand total. It's only gonna change for $684 a week. But when you add that to our 36 weeks of school, it's another $24,624, you know? And so the grand total we would be saving and or bringing in would be at $32,000 approximately. And that's just with this class. I mean, next year, I don't know what that would look like, but I just needed a base where, well, you know, what if we did it right now? What it would look like? And that's what it would look like currently. So what kind of questions do you all have?
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I asked them
You
last time,
had,
but I couldn't
and
remember.
if we discussed those questions, you had a voucher question, Lisa.
Yeah. So like, I know we have a lot of students that we don't have.
You have 4.
Okay, well, we used to, I think.
Yeah, you had 4
When we first
families.
started,
You had 4 families on
Yes.
vouchers.
this rate would still be able to cover, they would still be able to.
Well, the voucher system, changed a lot this year.
Okay,
But fortunately, because we are the cheapest in Delaware County, it really didn't hurt us that much.
okay.
I think it really hurt, I don't know if you've heard, but a lot of schools are closing and they can't pay their people. That's because they were charging $200 or $300 a week. We're now, and the voucher may have covered that. We're now the voucher stops at $147 a week.
Gotcha.
Well, we're at $150 a week. So literally, if you were a voucher family, your whole bill isn't completely covered, but you're only paying less than $5 a week for childcare.
Gotcha.
Where if you had been in another center, let's say, and they were charging $300 a week, now you've got $150 a year for the same kind of care. So I do think that we were really advantageous, that even though that voucher kind of cut off this year, which hurt everybody, it really didn't hurt Wes-Del because we were already.
Very close to it.
And for the board's perspective, you know, the additional income, that, you know, when we look at that, we do have supplies, we have money that goes out as well. So it's not just that's a fresh new pot of money.
No.
We have to look at our supplies, we have salary benefits and all of that. So really what we're looking at is that $32,000 extra, we can figure out how to disperse that and save ourselves some cash.
Correct. I want I know it is currently, currently the preschool is a standalone entity. We don't ask for any money from the school system. We stand on our own, and that's what I would like to continue to do it.
Mhm.
But as we move on and move forward, you know, prices increase, salaries increase, you know, all those things increase, and this would be one way to do that.
And then this would be, they would pay weekly,
They
correct?
would take weekly, which they do currently now. But what I'm finding is, like, I have one family currently that's on vacation. Well, they've already told me, hey, so we just lost $150 on that kid this week. But I'm saving their spot because that kiddo will be back.
Yeah.
Nowhere else in the county would that happen.
Because again, your expenses are still there, where that child's there.
Absolutely. I still staff, just because one kid is absent doesn't mean I can send an 8 home. You know, my ratios are still the same, and one kid doesn't really fluctuate my ratio that much.
And Kelly, we have one question, I think it regarded like, and obviously we're not going to weeds on this, but like, do we have families that can't pay or haven't, like,
No.
what's the consistency? I know that was one
No,
of the questions, like,
actually, you all have really good, what I consider really good payers, quite honestly. I would say Uncle Sam's probably your worst payer, and he's not even bad, he's just behind. He's just behind, and then that's normal. Uncle Sam usually runs about 4 to 6 weeks behind. So if you were to take our, what we're billing weekly and what we're bringing in weekly, yeah, there is a deficit, but it's Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam will catch up in the summer. That's just always the way it's been.
Do we have open spots currently?
Currently, yes, you do.
because I know we.
You have 4.
22 of 24, right?
Yeah, you have 2 in one room and you have 4 in the other.
So a capacity of 24 and 20, correct?
Yeah, 24 and 20.
Because I know that was a question last time too, 24 and 20.
And we already have, I looked at the list today, and for next year, we're already 28 on the waiting list.
So will there be some kind of contract basically stating that if they don't abide or whatever?
Right, and that's already in, the current policy is in our handbook currently and in our enrollment papers. I'm just asking the board for your blessing that I can change it. So when we start enrolling these students, right now it's just a list with emails and things. I would like to be able to send them that enrollment packet with the new payment policy.
Okay.
So everybody knows next year, what we're doing. Another thing that we're doing this year is, last year when I kind of came on, we have this list, but we really don't know who's showing up until the day of. And I thought, how do we staff? How do we know? How do we do all this? So to rectify that, they paid like a registration fee, but some did, some didn't. It was just kind of wishy-washy. What we have been telling people when they call is there's a $200 deposit. Now, what that deposit is, it's nothing new. We just want it up front.
So
Number
we
one,
can keep track of things.
well, who's really coming?
Yeah.
If you've got some skin in the game, you're gonna show up. So $150 of that 200 is your first week fee. You've already paid for your first week of daycare. But in that extra 50, 25 is for registration and 25 is for supplies or snacks or whatever we've used it for. So it's really not any different. It's just packaged a little differently. So you've got some skin in the game. You could pay that, at your leisure between now and August 4th or whatever we're opening again. And that way your first week is already paid. So no price increase. We're just kind of packaging a little bit differently, kind of getting in line with what the rest of the county's doing.
So what'd you say you was gonna do on Thanksgiving?
Well, Thanksgiving, that's kind of up to you all, whatever you would like to do.
What would you say to do on Thanksgiving? Because it's pretty well cut and dry. You have 2 days there.
You have 2 days, and then here, I'll be honest, we've never closed. My preschool's never closed. We closed on Thanksgiving Day. We closed 6 days a year. So that was it. So a parent had 4 days to actually bring their students. But what I found is lots of times Thanksgiving break, they didn't come because grandma came into town and grandma wants to spend, extra time. Honestly, I would give the parents that choice. If you want to come, we're going to charge you the full fee. If you don't want to come, which is fine, we're still going to hold your spot. We're still going to pay that 50%.
So when you say, charge the whole fee, are you saying that school's on Monday and Tuesday? If they didn't show up for Monday and Tuesday, they would no charge because they'd have the other 3 days to make 5. If they do show up for Monday and Tuesday, then they do have a choice. So are you saying you're open on Thanksgiving?
No.
Okay.
No, what I'm saying is that if they choose to come that Monday and Tuesday,
Correct.
They're paying the $150.
they pay the $150.
So
They
no
have a
matter what.
choice to come.
Okay. So
If they choose not to come that Monday and Tuesday, we're open. You chose not to come, but they'll be gone that Monday through Friday. We're still gonna charge them that 50% of their weekly fee.
So in their eyes, just from logistics wise, for them, they're gonna sit there and say that's $75 a day. I know, I'm just putting it out there. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, if they want to go on vacation for the week or whatever,
They still
they
can.
can still do that, but they're going to pay the $75.
They're gonna pay, yes, they're gonna pay to hold their spot while they're gone, which is what any other daycare in Delaware County does.
But I would say that they need to tell you this.
Oh, yeah,
You can't just say, well, we're just always, now we're gonna, because again, I
But we
think,
still staff
I think
that
to
room.
your
Yeah, we
point
will.
is daycares don't do that.
Yes.
Unless they're sick for the whole week.
If they're sick for the whole week, we're
That's
still
all.
gonna charge them 50% of the fee. If you're there
50%.
1 to 5, if you're at school 1 to 5 days, you'll be charged the whole week. If you're gone all 5 days due to illness or vacation,
Mhm.
whatever they choose, we are still gonna charge you 50% of that fee.
Okay.
So hold your spot.
Do they pay start of the week or the end of the week?
Honestly, our parents are really good payers. This year was the first year we implemented credit card payments. So really, they can
It's gonna make
pay
your life a lot
whenever they
easier.
want. It's wonderful. I have quite a few families that are just on like, I think, auto pay. The system is set up where it will bill them on Sunday nights or Monday morning at like 3 a.m. or something. And then a lot of our parents have it, I think, auto generated where their credit card just pays it Monday morning. I'm amazed. It's been fantastic to have that feature.
So at this juncture, just so we'll propose a vote, just so we can start giving out that information.
Yeah, I just need to know if I can change the enrollment forms. Like I said, we have 18 already on the list for next year. I don't think it's gonna rock anybody's world because this is what every other daycare does, you know? And we actually have a preschool program too, so.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of bang for the buck.
Any other questions or comments?
Anything?
Okay, so I think we're just looking for approval for, the presented policy update for preschool.
Motion to approve the updated preschool tuition and enrollment policy.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Policies, your step date.
Thank you. Well, we'll get all that re-typed into our new enrollment forms, they get those out and set.
Thank you for all you do. It's a great program.
Yeah,
It really is a great program.
Miss Christie has been fantastic. I've worked very closely with her since I got here. I appreciate her a lot. She's business minded. She cares about the kids. It all comes from the right place. She wants to make sure we can keep our doors open and
Yeah,
running
absolutely.
efficiently. And she has a lot of perspective and a lot of really good thoughts. I appreciate her being a big part of it.
Thank you so much.
She's good.
All right, next item, we've got the band and choir trip to Kings Island on May 27th. We are just looking for a motion to approve that trip.
Motion to approve the band and choir's trip to Kings Island.
Is there a second?
There is a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That trip has been approved. Moving on to superintendent's report.
Yeah, I have a few things. First off, today we had a really awesome, this has been one of the greatest days that I've had in a long time. This morning we had the opportunity to be at the State House. The Secretary of Public Education provided an award for all schools in the state of Indiana that received 95% or higher on IREAD 3. Truly amazing. There's tons of educators, superintendents, principals, everything. It was neat to be able to experience that. I really wish we could have taken our teachers. It's really tough because I love being there, but I would love more for them to be there. It's tough during a school day, especially 9 a.m. But I want to thank all of our third grade teachers. I want to thank our RTI staff, special ed staff, kindergarten 1, 2, leading up to that point. Literacy is a big deal. The state has pushed that, and we've rose to that occasion. I'm super excited with where we're at, and that comes from not myself. That comes from the teachers, the boots on the ground. So for the teachers, I appreciate it a lot. The second area that I want to highlight was Taylor Freeman. Miss Freeman, elementary teacher, we had the opportunity to be in her classroom this afternoon. Taylor received the Muncie Rotary Success Award for Muncie. Incredible young lady. So I just want to bring that up. Happy Assistant Principals Week, Mr. Burkett, Mr. Knuckles. They are the glue that keep this place together as well. I appreciate everything they do, and I do apologize. It's hard to keep up with each day or week. It might be, everybody has a week or a day. But I just wanted to be remiss if I didn't say thank you, Mr. Burkett, Mr. Knuckles. Also, Greater Muncie Chamber of Commerce, I thank them so much. The marketing, the boost, Wes-Del, the opportunity for us to present there was incredible. The people, the connections, there's probably 300 to 400 people in the room at Horizon, the Horizon Center, and that's 6:30 in the morning. And it's neat to be able to do that. We had previous Wes-Del graduates walk up, class of 88, 92. I had a lady come up and start cheering our fight song. Just all, I'm like, this is awesome. Class 92, I'm like, yes. No, it is me, Mr. Purdue, Knuckles, we're going. So I love that. We have the Newsies play coming up, April 17th to the 19th. They've been putting a lot of work in that. And then we also were able to update their sound system and everything. We were able to see that today. Our theater is top notch. Even the big schools long to have what we have here at the small school. It's incredible to see yourself out there on the 17th to the 19th. Athletic Boosters golf outing is May 17th. Register on Facebook. Let's try to fill that out. That supports all of our athletics. So we want as many people out there as possible. And we have Honors Day on May 15th. And we are getting very close to graduation. It became real to me when I was signing the diplomas this morning. So we're getting there. We're less than 2 months away from graduation, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff going on.
Andy, can I say something?
Yeah.
We're the only public schools this morning.
Yeah.
We're the only public school in our county that reached that 95%.
So we were the only public school. So St.
Yeah.
Michael's was the only other school in Delaware County to get the 95%. And Randolph County only had one school. So regionally, and I don't know if Blackford was on. So within the 4 to 5 county region, we've set ourselves apart. And it's not easy.
Hard work.
It's not easy. And the thing is, we're here to, support the whole child. And the things that we deal with every day, we do it out of our heart, and we're trying to, build that. So the literacy piece is incredible. We have some really good teachers.
We enjoyed our tours today. There was a lot of good stuff going on.
Makes me want to be an elementary principal again.
In line.
Everyone wants it.
There is a note in here that STEM Day is May 13th. Is that still correct?
Yes, May 13th, STEM Day. We actually spoke to the Secretary of Public Education. We spoke with State Representative from 35, 33, and 32. We're gonna have a lot of people here. So May 13th, if you come out to STEM Day, we're bringing as many constituents, representatives, senators, anybody, everybody. We've got catapults, we've got high altitude balloons and all kinds of cool
Nail
stuff.
beds, or at least in the past.
What's that?
Nail beds.
So it's really cool, and it's not gimmicky. It's 100% what our kids are
That's
doing.
amazing.
It's what our kids are doing. It's not just a show.
Okay. Anything else? All right. We will go to board comments. Carrie?
I really enjoyed today. It was a long day. We started at 12:30. It was nice just to walk around and see things in action and then see the facilities as well. So it was very nice to see all of it.
Thank you. Brittany?
I was gonna say the same thing. We got to see a lot of good stuff happening and things to come, like the STEM Day we talked about. And, that's great for the iLearn, for our kids in our district, setting us apart from everyone else. So just keep up the good work and appreciate everything that everyone's doing.
Well, and it is spring sports season too, so
Oh,
there's
yeah.
tons of things going on. Softball, baseball, track.
Sports physicals tonight, free. If anybody's watching right now, needs to.
I
Free
think
sports.
until what, 7 or 8?
It might be what it's at. You got 2 minutes, so hurry up.
But if you haven't done that before.
And
it's
we are
great.
we're gonna try to offer another round of free sports physicals through Open Door, for those that don't, get the opportunity tonight,
Yeah,
so.
because it's great. They fill out the paperwork you need, and
That's
you just turn it in, and it's one-stop shop. So great opportunity. So a lot of great stuff going on. We're working through a lot of new changes through the state with financials, but we're still doing it. So
Stay ahead of
everything's good. Yeah. So, all right. If there's nothing else, we are just looking to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second,
All right, make a second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.